Hey, welcome to another live episode of the H-Cast. Today we're joined by our special guest, Casual, and we're going to be discussing aliens and different alien races today.
Nice.
Yeah.
So start it off, brother. What you got for me? What's your best story?
Well, I've been interested in the story about the Tommy Knockers, and I'm not
Ooh,
sure if you're familiar with that. It's a
no.
legend that comes from several different places, and there's different terminologies depending on where the story is from. But what I found fascinating is the similarities between unrelated lore. And the first time I heard of it was in this reality show where they try to live like people in the early 1900s, and they go and they're doing something in a cave and like trying to see what it was like for miners in the early days. And they had this ritual where they said they would throw their bread crust to the knockers in the cave. And this was something that happened in the 18 and 1900s, where there was a rumor about these knockers, which were some kind of creature that lived in caves that they had to pay tribute to so that they wouldn't come and get them or something. And that
Wild.
was very curious. And then I heard again about similar things from another place, which was this documentary, a current documentary called Hellier, which investigates these Kentucky goblins. And they're described very similarly as these small, short, 2 foot tall creatures with round heads and pointy ears and tiny beady eyes that glow. And they live in caves, and they're similar in description to the other lore.
Man, those sound like gremlins. Are those gremlins? Is that what we're talking about? Is the cute little, well, I guess you can't say cute, the little homicidal gremlins?
Yeah, I've heard them also described in that terminology as a gremlin, a goblin, or they're also said to be from another planet and living in caves, and they are mischievous creatures that go around and steal supplies or something. And one person even said they had some kind of magical staff that was able to freeze people with light, and there was a gem on the end of it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Did you know in
So,
World War II, whenever most of the planes were having issues, they would say it's a gremlin. So that's
hmm.
kind of where the gremlins got started. The
Oh,
ones from the
interesting.
TV show. Right. They were gremlins allegedly were what was causing mechanical and electrical issues on these planes.
Hmm. Yeah, and that was a horror story about gremlins.
Actually,
That
we
was.
thought it was a comedy. We love that movie. In
Oh
fact,
yeah,
my children's nicknames, we call them gremlins.
and they've seen this movie.
Oh, yeah. And my firstborn, we called Gizmo because she was
Oh,
always
okay.
extremely quiet, loves to sing, like Gizmo in the movie loves to hum and try to sing, and just super quiet and super calm. And then we had my second child, who's now 11, that is a hellion. She's crazy. She's definitely the gremlin. Like behind me, on the very top bars right next to the door, I've got a Funko Pop box that has Gizmo and one of the gremlins.
Oh wow.
We've
I
always
saw
called
that.
them. Go ahead.
I saw that movie, and when I was, I think, between 5 and 8, and it scared the crap out of me. I had like nightmares about gremlins. I thought they were terrifying.
Really?
Yeah, and I know it's like a comical movie. It's just that something about, I guess, the puppetry or the appearance was very scary to me. And yeah, there's something about it that scared me.
Well, at that age, I can understand that. I was born in '83, so I can't remember when that movie came out. Was that '89 or I think it was '89,
Uh,
'90, which would have
yeah,
put
I'm
me
not
at
sure.
6. I loved it from the beginning, watching the gremlins in the kitchen throwing the plates at people and the putting a gremlin in the microwave and blowing him up. That stuff humored me. I thought they
Hmm.
were cool. I wanted one as a pet, but
Yeah,
I
I
was
like the
also, like I
concept.
said, 6.
Yeah, it was an interesting also like lore about the gremlins and the rules, and they had these special rules where they can't get wet, and then they transform, and that was pretty crazy too.
And no feeding Gizmo after midnight.
Yeah.
That was the second rule. If you get them wet, they multiply, and if you feed Gizmo after midnight, he turns into one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all those things were kind of spooky to me, and like ET, that was scary to me too.
E.T.? Bruh.
Yeah.
That movie is like so adorable.
Yeah. I think it's the part where he's in the hospital and there's all these tubes and things, and he's just like freaking out. It's very dramatic, I'd say.
Yeah, you're right. There are some really dramatic parts of that movie. But I don't think any of us, I'm a millennial, and I don't think any millennial can forget the flying bicycle part where they fly
Oh,
right over the moon.
yeah.
That
It's
was
an iconic.
amazing as a kid.
Yeah. So that's an interesting example of aliens portrayed in movies in a good way. And I made a list the other day of times that aliens are seen as good guys and bad guys in different films.
Ah, see, I was wanting to talk tonight about the Nordic aliens, which is a race, supposedly real,
Okay.
and they're
Are they like
benevolent.
okay? Yeah, like I feel from human experience like they've been largely good, and despite the apparent fear of them in many films, I don't think we've seen any attacks by aliens. Like there's been people abducted and traumatized by those abductions, but there's no evidence of attack. They've never seen them come out of the sky and attack someone that I
Right,
know of.
right. There, I did a podcast episode a couple weeks ago about a bunch of the most famous abductions,
Hmm.
and a lot came up. But in those, the only time that I found where the aliens were sus was the Pascagoula, and they beamed homie up and they put him under like this mechanical eye, and it went over his entire body, and he said it felt like it was looking into his soul, that it was so
Hmm.
powerful, and that a Nordic came aboard the ship, a
So what are the
female. Go ahead, sorry.
so the Nordics? What do they look like, or how are they portrayed?
Okay, well, so the Nordic aliens, they're also known as space brothers, and they're a type of extraterrestrial being that are reported, mostly the reports begin in the mid 20th century. They're tall, typically 6-7 feet, human like with pale or alabaster skin, and a lot of them have long blonde or platinum hair.
Hmm.
They have what most people have said are piercing blue eyes, like they pierce into your soul. And generally aesthetic, they're athletic looking and they're beautiful. Whether it's a male or a female, they look like models, is the best way to explain it. But they're also, um, they look more Northern European, which is where the name Nordics came from.
Hmm.
And their features are pretty beautiful, is what most people that have said they've seen them allegedly, and they explain them as beautiful, calm. They have a benevolent demeanor. They also do have telepathic abilities, and
Hmm.
they love humanity. They are basically looking spiritual and ecological well-being for our race.
Wow. So they sound kind of like the elves in Lord of the Rings, very tall and blonde.
Yeah, Legolas.
Yeah,
Very similar to that. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
that's interesting. I've also never heard of aliens with hair. A lot of them are described as being bald and,
Right.
you know,
Like the little
having.
gray homies that run around.
Yeah, I've heard of the grays, which are the most common described in films and things with the long heads. And then there's the like these goblin type ones, which are also kind of like something in these fantasy novels and things. So maybe there's something to it, and like maybe Tolkien and these other authors are not as creative as we think.
Kind of like the Vernians from the author Jules Verne.
Oh,
He
okay.
he wrote a bunch of stories like 2000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh, yeah. I
Right.
recently had the audiobook, and that was a really good one.
Yeah, it really, I don't know the audio book. I read the actual book. Um, Also, they think that it could have been Gulliver's Travel, The Mysterious Island. What was the most famous? Journey to the Center of the Earth. That was
Oh,
all
yeah.
by Jules Verne. And Vernians are people that believe that Jules Verne wrote truth, actual
Hmm.
fact in history, that it wasn't fictional.
Yeah, I'd believe that because also what they say about creativity is that you're not really coming up with something. It's more that you're open to ideas and ideas just come to you, like you're channeling them from elsewhere. And so that would make sense in that light.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that are quote unquote brilliant, and they've said things then they've actually said in newspapers and whatnot, like Nikola Tesla. There was
Yeah, I was
an
just going to say
the
he was.
reason. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, like, I heard Nikola Tesla was very into the idea of extraterrestrials, and later in his life, he spent a lot of time trying to communicate with them.
Yeah, he built the Wardenclyffe Tower, and with the Wardenclyffe Tower, he was trying to give everybody on Earth free electricity by
Hmm.
using the Tesla coils. But he built that, and during a newspaper interview with him, right, the writers jotting down whatever he's saying, and he happens to say when they said, "Where do you get these ideas?" Because they're hyper intelligent, like ultra intelligent, and he would often say that it, the ideas were spoken to him in his mind through thought,
Hmm.
like telekinesis, and that
Yeah.
it was extraterrestrials that were guiding him. And that's where Mad Doctor, that's where that comes from, is that newspaper called him a mad scientist. So that
Mm.
term actually was created because of Tesla. And my favorite story about that is one person asked Einstein what it felt like to be the smartest man on Earth. Homeboy literally responded with, "I don't know, ask Nikola Tesla."
Oh, wow.
That's what Einstein said.
And also in this book that I talked about before, the Law of One,
Yes.
and it's supposedly a channeling from another fourth dimensional being, and they ask them things about some of these important characters and geniuses throughout history, and they talk about how those people, like Nikola Tesla, had like a higher sense of connection to the universe, and that's how they were able to come up with these things. They were literally more advanced spiritually or in some way than other humans, where they're able to connect to the knowledge of the universe. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting because whether you believe it or not, it's saying that they were open, and if you open your mind, that you can receive these different things throughout the universe. And I think that's just a really cool idea to be able to have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah. And like I think I felt that in moments of my life. As a comedian, I'm not famous for a lot of things, but to me, I've had so much experience being able to make people laugh in many situations, and I've often felt that those ideas came to me from elsewhere and that I couldn't credit myself for coming up with something. It just comes to me. Like I came
Wow.
up with some funny ideas, like I'm making that movie we talked about,
The
the
sock
sock.
movie. I need to see the sock do a uppercut. I've got to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see someone catch an uppercut from a sock.
Yeah, I love that type of physical comedy goofiness
Mm-hmm.
because we have this idea that like socks or puppets have limited mobility or limited ability to contort themselves or do something, but I want to portray like unbelievable acts. Like he'll be holding a knife somehow, even if he has no arms
He's got
and stuff
a
like that. Yeah.
knife. A sock with a knife. That's funny as hell. How do you explain getting prison shanked by a fucking sock? Like you'll get to heaven and like you're at the gates of judgment and they're like, how did you die? Well, I was prison style shanked to death by a sock. And you can just imagine the guys at the angels at the gate and they're like, bruh.
Yeah, I think a lot of comedy is just taking non-serious things seriously and taking serious things non-seriously. So that's the way I look at it. Like I put a lot of effort into taking serious details of something that's ridiculous because in the end it has to make sense in some way for the context to relate to people. So if it's completely outlandish and nothing makes sense physically or logically, there won't be a way for it to relate to people. And for me, I'm like very open minded, so much that I see reality as arbitrary. So when I go to work and I do normative things, it all seems ridiculous to me because I think why this particular set of things is considered normal is so random. Like, why do we drive to work and then work a certain amount of hours and then come home and eat? And then I look at animals and they have a completely separate reality of life. They don't
Right.
drive to work and stuff. Like a rabbit goes and he hops around and he eats some grass
Any
and he has to
humps?
worry. Yeah. So we're just animals like any other thing, except we wear clothes for some reason. So it's very arbitrary to me. And one of the great comedians in comic books that I admired was Gary Larson. I don't know if you know his works, but he has a lot of funny cartoon, like one panel strips that are largely about animals and humans interacting and animals acting in human ways. Like one of the funny ones was there's a polar bear with a fake penguin nose surrounded by penguins, and one of the penguins is like, and now Johnny's gone. I don't know where all these penguins keep disappearing. And the polar bear is just like shifty eyed because
That's
they think
crazy.
that, yeah, so he's a real legend in terms of like funny comics, because a lot of people appreciate that humor because it touches on that what I'm saying, where it's so arbitrary the types of things we consider normal, and to see things through the eyes of animals is a fun way to see how random things really are.
Yeah, that's crazy right there. It's a whole different perspective.
And he also includes a lot of things about aliens and how they might see us as ridiculous also.
Oh, dude, aliens fly by and they're like, "Ew, the ghetto." Just lock their doors and dip out. That's why we haven't seen them.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's so ubiquitous, the theme of aliens. Like you see it across many mediums and art forms. Like there's a popular artist from the 80s and 90s, the Keith Haring, where they had an exhibit here in the city, and now I see people walking around with his t-shirts, so it's like a resurgence. But a lot of his art, he did like street art where he drew cartoon characters on subway stations, and one of his recurring themes is the UFO coming down and beaming lights at people. And one of
Just
them is
trolling.
like, no, it's just like a kind of like a icon of a UFO, and then like a cartoon of a dolphin or something, and then it shines a beam of light at the dolphin, and the dolphin is jumping out of the water. It's not clear what they mean, but he has like UFOs and pyramids in some of his pieces, and clearly he was affected in some way by those themes.
Well, you know what they say, that you've got some people that believe that aliens built the pyramids with levitation, like they were able to move all the blocks with telekinesis. Whether or not,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I believe that, I'm just saying that's a theory.
Well, that's also what they suggest in that Law of One book from the interdimensional aliens, is they ask them how the pyramids were built, and this is Ra, the sun god, who was present at that time, saying that somehow from knowledge that was given to the people, they had this ritual of humming and making noise together that was able to levitate the rocks by them communicating with them because of the connection in talking to the consciousness of the rocks. And that's something that we don't really talk about, is the fact that inanimate objects have some sort of consciousness.
Right, because, fuck physics.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I think, like we touched on another time, people seem to have this divide between you believe in science completely or you believe in magic. And people who are religious often go the opposite route, and they believe so much in magic and prayer and God that they deny science. And then some people are so far the other way where they think everything has to be explained by equations and formulas and proof, that anything that can't be scientifically proven has to be fake.
Well, I mean, you got to remember Arthur C. Clarke. He was famously quoted as saying that magic is just science we don't understand yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the same with things in history. We assume we're so advanced now because we have one type of technology like the internet and cell phones, and we assume that's the most advanced we've ever been. But there's been meteors, and there's been humanity's wiped out almost completely, that we forget a lot of the things in the past, like how we said we can't build pyramids now, but they used to be able to.
Right. How do
Um,
you move those blocks and do that when we can't do that right now?
yeah, and it bothers me when people have that solution where they're like, "Oh yeah, they just had a lot of people with ropes and they were stronger or something." Like, no,
Yeah,
that
because
doesn't.
that's how you move a 10-ton block. We got ropes, bitch.
Yeah. So the other day at work, I do like the garbage collections at the mall, and there's a garbage bin, like a big 20-foot or something garbage bin that we throw the garbage down the chute. And the guy who dropped it off put it in the wrong spot so that when you throw it down the chute, it just falls on the floor and not into the bin. And I told them, guys, they put the bin in the wrong spot. So we had to go outside and toss it in manually. And I joked to the guy, I'm like, how about a couple of us just get together and push this enormous metal bin together? And then he didn't even respond to that because of how ridiculous it sounds to do some physical work like that without a machine. And that got me thinking about the pyramids. If we can't even conceive of rolling a metal bin with wheels a couple of feet with all the people at the mall, how could you justify how they move these giant boulder rocks?
Right. But hey, I've got a tip for you to keep you safe, my friend. Be careful with trash bins. Chrissy might have someone waiting for you.
Oh yeah,
Chrissy might have someone take you out.
right. Yeah, yeah, but there's something to it. Like there was apparently an experiment they did in Japan that I haven't been able to find because I didn't know what to search, but they tried to prove that humans could move pyramid blocks using technology from the past to show that it was built by humans and not by aliens. And they did this, I think, like many years ago, and they had 100 or so people in the desert trying to move a giant block to prove that that theory was true. And
Did
I'd
it
like to
work?
see that because I don't know. Like I have to see what happened because I thought of it too. That would be interesting to a lot of people to do some kind of a experiment like they did those Mythbusters things
Right.
to do one to be like, okay, so let's use these theories we have and try to actually move a couple of blocks like we said they did in the pyramid times.
We
Get
need to
like a
look this
hundred
up.
guys. Yeah. Because otherwise we got ourselves a reality show idea on our hands.
Hey, man, that's actually kind of cool, especially because we know how many times they're going to fail.
Yeah. So like get 100 football players to try to move one block that's a third of the size of the pyramids, and you can have all the logs you want, but it has to move on sand and try to move it.
I mean, the theory that they were using logs and whatnot had me like, where's the closest woods in that part of Egypt? Like, how many trees do you see that are big enough that you can all lay down these massive trees? And they had to move these blocks, 10-ton plus blocks, from the quarry.
Yeah.
Hi,
So the
I'm Corey.
quarry was hundreds of miles away, and I know they had a lot of time, but that sounds like an insurmountable obstacle.
Right. So you're telling us hundreds of miles from the quarry that you've got, say, 100 people that have ropes and some frickin' logs. And you're telling me they made that trip? One block would take a week to move because you'd
Yeah.
have to stop, move the blocks back into the front, roll it, stop, move. There's no damn way. And if they did, that's some bullshit job.
And I love how a lot of times people that believe in these things start changing their story as you explain how it doesn't make sense. So you're like, yeah, so here's how much force each human would have to exert to move this. And they're like, well, people were bigger back then, giants. I'm like, oh, okay, so now there's giants. So let's
Oh God.
erase the board and say everyone was 10 feet tall and like Andre the Giant, and you have people that size moving the blocks. It still doesn't make sense. It's too much weight.
Right. And they're trying to change it to giants now?
Yeah. It's like I said at the mall. I'm like, okay, so how many people are we going to need to push this garbage bin? It's just a garbage bin on wheels. It's not like we're building the pyramids here.
Nice. I like how you just slid that right into the conversation.
I don't think I said that because the guy was just like not having it, but I thought about that at the time. I was like, this thing is like the size of one brick and it's much less dense, and we can't even fathom like 20 people trying to move it an inch. So imagine if that thing was full of rocks, how many people it would take to move it not just on a flat surface, but on sand.
It'd be impossible.
Yeah. So I think it just kind of, that's why this is one of the mysteries that still has conversation around it. Like I know there's been things like I saw a documentary about Bigfoot and they found some DNA that proved that it was like a bear with different genetics or something. And then they're like, well, that closes the story on that one. But I haven't seen any kind of confirmed evidence of the pyramids. There's so many theories still floating around on the internet and in conversations that it's an interesting one.
Right. And I think I've told you before that I have a personal friend, a very good friend. His name is Chad. I'm not going to say his last name or anything, but my buddy Chad is a college educated engineer. That's his job. He is an engineer. And he's the one who told me that with the equipment that he would have access to, right? Even the best equipment, cranes, movers, he said we still can't do it. He's one of those people that he's not a big alien person, but he said you just can't argue the fact that modern equipment can't do half of that.
Yeah, and that's what makes the pyramids particularly interesting to me is that it's a feat of engineering that baffles our current humanity and our technology. So like I like that as something that stands as an achievement, whether it was purely humans who did it. Like we have a story in Judaism that we keep repeating during the holidays about the pyramids and how it was built by Jewish slaves in the Pharaoh times. And I keep thinking, like, this story doesn't make any sense where they have like pictures of these like malnourished, skinny people pulling ropes with giant bricks. Like, there's so much fantasticism in biblical stories that
Agreed.
I think it's very dogmatic to be like taking credit for something that can't be explained and saying, "Oh yes, the slaves. They had so many slaves and that's how they did it."
And it makes less sense actually because if you think about it, if they're malnourished, skinny, no muscle, now
Yeah.
how are 100 starved slaves going to move that shit?
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to have the motivation. You need 100 bodybuilders eating creatine and protein who are trying to get into the NFL. Those are the people with the motivation to move a giant boulder, not these malnourished slaves who are being whipped. They'll just sit down and say, forget it. You're going to whip me anyways.
Bro, you just solved how they built the pyramids. Thousands of years ago, they had the NFL players.
They said we have to start training now because in 1,000 years we're gonna have to get first downs.
Yeah, let's build a pyramid, bitch. We
And
got
now
this.
to honor the legacy, we still have gym equipment that mimics the motions of moving pyramid bricks.
Right. That's the new exercise for the NFL players. Everyone get together and instead of pushing that sled of weights that they use, we're moving pyramid blocks, hundreds of miles. Let's see it. Give me
The other
150 of those muscle bound, really strong guys.
Yeah, there's also the inconsistency where some people say everyone was bigger back then, and other times you hear everyone was smaller back then. So which is it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense. I know that our culture, especially in America now, is a bit of overweight, things like that, but I still think we've got to be close, at least close to, ancient times. It's not like all of a sudden everybody in Egypt was a muscle bound football player. There had to
Yeah,
have been just normal people, except the giants.
yeah. Well, exactly. Like Jesus was pretty skinny. He wasn't like a big buff guy, although sometimes you see he had a lot of definition in some of those, you know, crosses that they have sculptures of.
Yeah, and you have to admit if he was actually, skinny, frail looking, whatever, homie was still able to part a whole ass sea.
Yeah. Well, that was Moses, right?
Right, but
With the power of God.
he was praying to Jesus to make the path, wasn't he?
Yeah, use the power of something, and there's a lot of like magic at that very specific point in time, and then nowhere else in history. People are like, how come now we can't part the seas and do stuff? They're like, oh, no, no, just during biblical times.
Yeah,
Now we have computers.
they canceled our subscription. That's what it was. Back in the old days, they were just like cancel their subscription, take this shit away.
But then again, it's the same kind of thing, like you said, where things, magic is just science. So maybe there is some science that we can't do enough spiritual stuff to part a sea now because we're so out of touch spiritually. Just like they would think it's ridiculous that we could make a phone call like this and see each other from halfway across the world.
I mean, one cool thing. I'm segueing off of what you were just saying. Look at the library at Alexandria. Had that not have burned down, imagine
Mhm.
the information that we lost to history. That it could have been stuff like how the pyramid was actually built. Aliens, all kinds of things could have been in that library and now it's lost to time.
Yeah, and there was something also that the in the law of one, what Ra was saying was that they don't want us to have concrete evidence of aliens because that would alter the course of humanity. And as soon as everyone is certain that there's concrete proof, then that would eliminate the whole debate and the whole faith of it. It's kind of like if you have proof there's a God, then faith disappears.
I mean, to back you up on that, was it 3 years ago that the freaking Department of Defense said UFOs are real? We've chased them, we have footage. So, I mean, they don't want concrete evidence, but they sure as shit came out and announced that that's real.
Yeah, but there's still going to be skepticism, like the whole idea that everyone won't agree that there's aliens is a necessary part of the whole thing.
What if aliens What if aliens are just humans from lost civilizations? Like they knew something, there was impending doom or a big disaster, so they dipped the fuck out and then waited for all hell to break loose and then came back. And after all those years, they're super advanced. So
Yeah.
it could just be a human flying around in that thing like, "What's up, bitches?"
Yeah, I've heard that too. That maybe aliens are us in the future and things like that. There's also a comic I saw where there's dinosaurs in a spaceship traveling back to Earth, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to see what's been going on since we left."
Damn. Yeah, like, oh, things got worse after all these years, not better. Now just look at TikTok. That's all I'm saying. Just look at TikTok, and that alone will show you that humanity is fucked.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonsense online I can't even deal with.
Like the smart has become not smart. We have so
Yeah.
much access to information. Just my cell phone, right? Just my cell phone has unlimited knowledge. With all the
But then
knowledge we have access to, and we're still idiots.
but then that knowledge is very controlled by a few people. Like if you look at what information goes out, just like in the news, you never see an article in the mainstream news about how billionaires are controlling everything and taking over. It's always like, I saw one the other day that's like, why it's a good thing that Elon Musk made another $100 billion. Like, how is that good for anyone but him?
Well, I mean, my point was leaning towards we have all this knowledge, this access to knowledge. We have more information in a single day's newspaper than people hundreds of years, just a couple hundred years ago. A newspaper
Yeah.
has more information than they ever have.
But then the information is so skewed online also, where anyone could make up something and we're not sure if things are true, that I feel information that was written in books from a while back is a lot more, scrutinized, and they had an editor and you had to be of a certain level of knowledge to get something published. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, I see even in the book world, I picked out a book once from this discount store and it was written by AI clearly because it was formatted terribly. There was illogical placement of words, and it was just like one of those things where they're like, "Hey guys, do you want to make money writing books? All you need is a couple of prompts." And I'm like, "This is what we get for making things too easy."
Right. AI's writing books for people now.
Yeah, I'm like, "This is no Stephen King."
Hey, but I am gonna admit AI art is freaking amazing. I've made some cool shit using AI
Yeah,
art.
yeah, I agree. And there's people that are hating on it, and I just feel like they're stuck in the past. They're angry for some reason, and I understand the fact that AI cannot have emotions to put into the art, but visually you can't deny that they're doing some good stuff.
Right. And a very good friend of mine, JR, he's a real life friend. Awesome dude. He's very knowledgeable, reads all the time. He and I actually had this discussion. He hates AI art. No matter how beautiful it is, no matter how cool it is that I've made or sent to him, he doesn't like it because it takes away from artists. And my thought was, I understand that artists want to sell their art. They're creative. Some of us are not that damn creative. So why should I not have the ability to, why shouldn't I have the ability to say what I want to say? Do what I
Yeah.
want to do. Art that in my mind could be just as amazing as any artist, but I can't put it on paper. You get what I'm saying? Why should I not
Yeah.
have access to be able to express myself in a way that I couldn't do any other way?
Exactly. And I have a unique perspective because I'm a distributor of films. So, in a way, I'm involved in the selling of art. And over a decade or so, I've encountered so many artists who have these concepts of what art is valuable and what should be considered. It's been frustrating to me navigating this because it's such a weird space. Art is self expression, and you can't tell someone that your self expression has to be valued by others. And it's frustrating to me when people have that expectation. No artist can demand to earn a living for their art. It just doesn't make any sense because the whole point of it is that you're doing it for self expression. If you demand to be paid for it, that's not how the market works. People pay for what they value based on if they think it has value to them. You can't say, I worked this many hours on this piece of art, pay me this much money for it. If nobody likes how it looks and nobody wants it, it's not worth anything in the market. And that's not to say you're not a good artist or you don't deserve to have certain things. It's just the way that that functions. It's a weird space to be in. And that's why we have the term starving artist, which talks about how a very, very large percent of artists aren't able to make a living at their art.
Right. So, simple answer. Do you think AI art, AI whatever, do you think as an artist, do you think that yes, it's okay for people to use that, or are you, I hate AI?
Yeah, I definitely think it's okay to use. It's just like I said, it's the market will dictate what's valuable and what isn't. If someone is angry that they put their heart and soul into something that doesn't sell, they can't demand that somebody buy their art. And if somebody wants to pay a lot of money for something that didn't take a lot of time, then they can do that. That's the way it works. It's not You're not being paid on the merits of your skills. It's what I learned recently is that, let's say as a painter, there are many gifted painters who can make aesthetically beautiful paintings. It doesn't mean they're worth a certain amount. It's valued based on its uniqueness in the market. If you look the same as every other artist, your stuff will be valued like it's common, whether or not you're a brilliant painter or not.
Right. So I agree with, 100% of what you're saying. And I have a unique perspective because I put hours upon hours upon hours into my podcast. And it's like, I don't make any money from it. I work my butt
Yeah.
off for it, but I'm also not expecting people to be like, here's $10,000. I would like it, but I'm not going to demand anybody pay anything because I do it for my self expression, just like you said.
Yeah. And there's so much frustration when people decide that now they deserve to be paid a certain amount for their efforts. It's just not how it works. It's I can spend my whole life trying to be the best basketball player and not make the NBA because of my genetics, because I didn't, for any number of reasons. It doesn't mean I deserve anything. It's just a matter of the space that you're operating in. And it's the same with, like, in the film industry. There's going to be movies that are terrible that make money, and there's going to be movies that are not appreciated and flop, even though they're well made and everyone in it worked hard and it was well crafted, but people don't understand it for whatever reason. It doesn't reach the market, it doesn't have good distribution, it gets overlooked because a bigger movie came out. So there's many, many factors, And the idea that something is unfair is true. Of course, it's not fair. Why should some people get to succeed and other people not? It's just a matter of how the market perceives it.
Well, back to my friend JR again. He's an author. He's actually written a couple books. He spends hours every single day working on his short stories, working on his next book. He's not making very much from it at all, but he loves it, so he does it. Even if it's not selling like hotcakes, the man writes for free. He doesn't care. He's an awesome writer. I've read one of his books, and dude's got some skill. But for some reason, children's books will sell better.
Yeah, so it's nothing to do with the merits of the author. A good example is Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher. He sold less than 200 books in his lifetime, never made a living at it, but yet now is almost everywhere. Like he came up with the quote, God is dead, and also the one, if you stare long enough into a void, the void will stare into you. There's a lot
Ooh.
of very profound things that he said that are now like in so many TV and movies after he died. And he even predicted that he might not be popular until after he died. So much brilliant insight that was unappreciated in his time. And that's just another example of how the game works.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at some of the most famous artists of all time. Most of everything they've sold that is amazing was all after they were dead.
Yeah, Van Gogh as well died penniless and now is one of the biggest artists. More recently, there was uh, Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's currently he passed away tragically also in the 80s as part of the AIDS epidemic, and
Oh,
he was
damn.
around during yeah, he was working with like Andy Warhol and those guys, and now his art is some of the top, if not the top selling art in the world, going for hundreds of millions of dollars.
And he never will see a penny from it.
Well, he did pretty well during his life, but not compared to now where things he just I think it was like Jay-Z bought some of his art and made it popular amongst people, and some of his popular themes, as you might have seen, he does this kind of like spray painted crown with 3 stars that's very
I've
popular
seen
now.
that.
Yeah, he did that. He does a lot of like very complex stuff that looks kind of like a child drew it, but has like complicated notions, and he paints over it and then repaints more things, and they seem to be kind of unrelated. Like there's like math equations with pictures of cats and things on top of it, and it seems very disorganized, but there's some deep brilliance that is underneath it all. Like he was a very intelligent, dark, haunted person with many layers.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I mean, I like that how you broke it down to be easily understood for an idiot like myself.
Well, I find art so interesting, and the idea of what makes art valuable to people is such a mystery also. Like so often when you look up top selling art, it would make the average artist be like infuriated. You see things like a big blank canvas with a dot in the middle sold for $20 million. There was like that banana peel that was taped to the wall, like $200,000 piece of art,
Who the
and
hell
everyone's like,
paid for the banana?
Yeah, and then people are like, I could have done that. Like, oh well, you didn't. He did it, and so he gets the money, and then that just
Bruh.
leads to me. It just seems like the stupefaction of things, like where you see YouTubers doing stupid nonsense, like the Logan Paul and his brother, like just messing with people online and being shitheads and then getting millions of dollars. And then other people are like, oh, that's what I have to do to be popular. I have to play pranks on people. And I'm like, oh, no, not a generation of this.
Right, and I have to agree with you. It is infuriating to do what we do. Like yourself, you're writing these movies and you're doing a podcast, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you watch these people, and my wife and I discuss this. Again, I'm not trying to make a fortune off of a podcast. I do it for expression, I do it for fun. But my wife and I were discussing how I can spend 2, 3 hours on a clip or on a short story script, and then you can watch people that takes shit out of one container to put it in a different container so that their fridge looks pretty, and it'll be
Yeah.
like 200,000 views. But I can spend hours working on something and it's like 6 views.
Yeah, there's just not enough smart people to watch smart content. It's like I've
Hold
spent
on now. Don't
years.
accuse me of doing smart content now.
Well, smarter than the fridge is all I'm
Nice.
saying. I'm just saying they're so far below an average level of intelligence that you really have to dumb yourself down to relate to people. And that was another famous quote, I think, Arthur Schopenhauer, where he said, if you want a big audience, appeal to idiots.
Damn, that makes sense. But it is infuriating watching these people make millions of dollars vacuuming their floor. One woman that my wife watches, she literally is in her kid's bedroom, picking up the clothes, vacuuming, cleaning the windows, and you'll get 500,000 views. And I'm sitting there like, hold the fuck up.
Yeah.
Who is paying for this shit?
Yeah, exactly. And like I remember those popular videos where someone just stands in line to buy one of the new game systems and then smashes it in front of people to get a reaction and they
Beat
get
his
lots of
ass.
views. Yeah, everyone's all angry and I'm like, this is not what humanity was here to do, to just do stupid things, get attention, and then be rewarded for that.
Well, you know what they say, there's famous and then there's TikTok famous.
Yep.
And
Well,
lip
there's one.
syncing is big on TikTok. You'll see people with 1 million+ views just lip singing a
Oh yeah.
song. And well, I mean, most of the time, if you think about it, it's beautiful women doing it. So of course they're going to get a bunch of views more than my ugly butt. I'm not going to be making all those views lip syncing, but the stupidest shit seems to do so good.
Yeah. But that comes back to the art and what do you really want to express? Like, do you want to be someone who dumped a bucket of stuff on your head to get views? Or do you want to be someone using your self expression to say something that's meaningful to you? So while they might be getting attention, they're also squandering their ability to express who they are. So they can have millions of views and lots of money from it, but at the end of the day, they're just known as some clown who's doing anything for attention online, and you can't see them in any deeper sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, to prove your point, look at that Ⅎ𝐫𝐲 girl. She made
Yeah,
so much money, got so famous for talking about how to give a blowjob. And they put her on this
yeah.
pedestal. And she became the hottest person in all of TikTok, in all the TikTok world. She's super famous. She's throwing baseballs in actual baseball games, and then all of a sudden she screws everyone over and disappears. It's like, so you held
Oh,
this person on a pedestal, And
Yeah.
that same person came up with some crypto, screwed everyone over, and made a bunch of money. So
Oh
you're
yeah.
holding the wrong people up to higher standards.
Yeah. I think that's just how it goes when you don't have a sense of maturity. You can get so far up there, but then you have a long way to fall. So it's interesting. Like, if she was smart enough to invest her money and do smart things instead of screw people over, she could have had a fruitful career doing something after she was brought up and, springboarded by this viral clip. And some people are better examples of that. Like, there's one hit wonders from the 90s
Oh
who still
yeah,
are living off their money from one hit.
you're right.
And
That was big in
like,
the 90s too. They'd come out with one
yeah,
song that is ingrained for the rest of my life. That song is in my head and I'll never forget it. But that person gets all that money and all that fame, and then that's it, game over. There were so
yeah.
many one hit wonders in the 90s.
And then you have to live with being that washed up person who did one thing 20 years ago, and people are just seeing you as a joke, but you can transform yourself and try to do something else, kind of like that Cash Me Outside girl
Oh, I
who,
use that
if,
line all the time. I
so
still
she
use that
was,
line.
if people don't know, there was this Dr. Phil guest who was a young girl, and she was, I don't know, promiscuous or something, and angry at her parents and said, "Cash me outside." And then she got popular from that and became an OnlyFans star who made $250 million in 1 year, and then became a musician. So she really capitalized on that Dr. Phil performance.
Right. Her name is Bad Barbie. She was on that Dr. Phil show and she was being awful to the crowd. And she said, "Catch me outside, how about that?" And that's what became famous was the "Catch me outside, how about that?" And she got so famous from that. Then she starts doing, like TikTok and all that stuff. But her name, I think she goes by Bad Barbie. And she is, she's successful and everything, but she's also a victim of domestic violence.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully she can help people. And, I find some people don't squander their success, and they make some money, they give back to the community, they try to help people, and they end up feeling a lot better than sometimes you see these shows where people are just living these luxury lifestyles but are constantly annoyed and unhappy with their lives because they don't have a real sense of purpose.
Right. I mean, for example, um, John Wick. Homie made so much money, but when he first got famous, Keanu Reeves, um, which I think Keanu in his culture means wind over the mountain, I think is what Keanu. And he was asked one time about if he knows anyone else named Keanu, and he has a cousin named Keanu. But when he first became successful, and I'm pretty sure it was cancer, but he paid for his sister's cancer treatments.
Hmm.
Tons of money. And all you ever see about that man is compliments and people saying how amazing, how nice. He's been with the same woman for so many years. He's a
Hmm.
genuinely good person, just like you said.
Yeah, I've heard also, like, he gave up part of his salary to pay people in the Matrix to get it done and
Right.
other things. And yeah, it's interesting too because in a world that focuses so much on the bad things people do, it's almost like you have to be perfect to not look like a bad person once you're famous, because they'll take anything. If you are busy and angry one day and you don't have time to sign an autograph, that'll be in the news. Like,
I
oh,
think
this
that's horrible.
nice guy. Yeah, like the pressure is so enormous.
That's why people are so fake nowadays. Because you have freedom of speech, but God forbid you fucking use it. Now they cancel you. They just destroy you and your entire life because they started a fight, you responded, and now your career in life is over. You're now you're now demonized, villainized because one time in what 10 years you got pissed
Mhm.
off and told someone to eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah, well, this kind of comes back to what we're saying about artists, and it's just the same thing as the artist that never gets respect. If you do get appreciated and end up making a lot of money from your art, it can also be taken away very quickly. So it's the whole idea of live by the sword, die by the sword. Easy come, easy go. You could do very well, but you're always at risk of losing it all because it's such a fickle marketplace that everyone's trying to take your place when you're a successful artist.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone's fighting for attention. But you can have someone explain how she does a blowjob and she's rich and famous overnight, but you can be an artist and, like you said, a starving artist. You work your butt off just trying to make ends meet, and then someone can go and talk about a blowjob and millionaire. That doesn't seem
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't envy people that have a lot of fame because they have to deal with all that and people's expectations, and anything you do gets put in the spotlight.
Yeah, because I really like my privacy. I really like to be left alone. So while I've got a bunch of followers that I love, I also, under any circumstance, do not want fame. Because having the camera hounds, what are they called? The paparazzi, those dinglings, they're sitting out in your goddamn bushes. You know what I mean? Like if I'm in my patrol car and there's a guy in the bushes with a camera, I'm fucking him up. And then
Yeah.
there you go. Your whole career's over. They're zooming in your windows trying to catch you and your wife naked. I mean, they're horrible people. I don't
Well,
want to
I
deal
was a
with that.
paparazzi. I did a paparazzi gig once.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, for TMZ.
Did you really? Who were you
Yeah, I was
creeping
on
on?
Justin Bieber.
No shit, bro, you were messing with the Bieber.
Well, I wasn't. I kind of just got pushed to the floor by a bunch of larger paparazzis who were more prepared. I was outside in the cold and they told me to like go get ready, and there was a million screaming fans, and my camera was frozen because it was cold out. So it didn't go super well, but that was my experience. I was on like a list of freelancers for cameras, and they're like, "Hey, you live in the city, go film Justin Bieber going to jail soon." I'm like, "Okay."
Have you ever played Grand Theft Auto 5?
No, I just played the old pixelated one.
Well, there is a mission in Grand Theft Auto 5 where it's a side quest, pretty much. You are literally helping out a guy that is paparazzi. And at one point, you're riding a motorcycle chasing this limousine down. He's on the back of the motorcycle trying to get pictures of her naked through the window. And like the dude is creeping in bushes. It's a quest chain, so it's not one quest. It's you'll do this, and then eventually he'll give you another mission and another mission. But you're paparazzi literally just trying. But in the game, you're actually trying to ruin people's lives. Like he's
Yeah.
literally trying to ruin this woman's life because she's famous.
Well, that is the point of Grand Theft Auto, right? It's kind of like a mocking of morals. Like when the first one came out, it was kind of a joke where they're like, "Hey, instead of being a good guy, you're trying to do as much crime as possible."
You're right. You're right. I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's the expectation of what paparazzi are and what they do, and that
Yeah.
mission is literally demonizing paparazzi. But now you've talked about having expectations of yourself. That
Hmm.
is telling people how horrible paparazzi is.
Yeah, and even when I did that gig, the other guy who was on the job with me was like, "Don't ever tell anyone that you did this. They'll think you're a piece of shit, and it's a bad look in the community." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oops, just announced it. Like, oh,
Well,
you
I like
fucked
to.
that up.
Well, I'm a podcaster. I have to tell every story because of the laws of podcasting.
Right, the laws of podcasting. If it's embarrassing, we're doing an episode, right? Making fun of ourselves. I do that when I do my gaming live streams all the time. We make fun of each other so bad, and we'll even make fun of ourselves because it's funny. Yeah, I mean, do you want people to know these things? No. Should they know these things? No. Are you going to tell it so people laugh at your ass? Absolutely.
Yeah, well, like I think that's the difference between being a genuine person and being a celebrity who tries to make their image a certain way. They're not human in the sense that you can't see them flawed, or you'll lose the idea that they're this larger than life person. When in reality, everyone has something imperfect about them. Everyone has to, you know, go to the bathroom and stuff, and things that you don't talk about. But in terms of like upholding someone on a pedestal, you always want to see certain people like they're these legends, these larger than life human legends.
Right. And for me, the person I would have to say, I like movie stars, I like musicians and whatnot, but there's only one human being that I hold on a pedestal, and that is Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20. In
Yeah.
1996, when they released that first album, it was like I still listen to that album, but all the way through high school, all the way until I got cancer, like right then is kind of where the music wasn't the best. It went from every song on every album was amazing to now I don't like everything, but the dude is such a good dude. And in my eyes, he's helped me through the hardest moments of my life since I was a teenager. And when I
Hmm.
had cancer, I got to see him live, but, we didn't have the money to actually pay for backstage, which I'd like to do sometime, but that's the only famous person that I respectfully hold on a pedestal. The man is, in my eyes, done so much for me my whole life.
Yeah, it's awesome how we can have that effect on other people, or how somebody's art can affect someone profoundly. I'm sure he would appreciate knowing that you were affected so positively in that way. And that's kind of how I feel about certain comedians. And like, I really like Norm Macdonald, the comedian. And to me, he is like a legend who he passed away recently, but just the way that he didn't care about what anyone thought and really had a love for comedy the way that I do. And it's hard for me to explain to most people the level at which I commit myself to the love of comedy. And just like we were saying about making a career at things, I put a lot of mental energy into focusing on that through most of my life. And I know a lot about comedy, what makes people laugh, different tones and things to do. And so I have a deep appreciation for those who take it to the next level.
See, for me, my favorite comedian of all time is, of course, my boy H. What's up, H? I'm throwing you
Thanks.
out there. But other than you, my favorite is Matt Rife. That dude slays me every time. The way he shit talks his fans and whatnot, and he's harmless, but there's no line. He's so quick-witted that he doesn't even have to write a script. He just plays off the crowd. The dude is kind of crude, but he is awesome. He's very funny.
Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to do, which is kind of why I'm drawn to it, just like with art dealing. I find things that are almost impossible for people to understand are so interesting to me. Like, I'm interested in dealing art. Like, something could be worth nothing, it could be worth $1 million, and most of the world population can't tell you which is which. And it's fascinating to me to learn the intricacies of that. And the same with comedy. You see people that do almost the same thing, but one of them is so much better than the other because of minute differences in how they present it, the specific words they say. It's such a finite thing that can't be. It's the same reason why AI can't make funny jokes, because they don't have the life experience and the specific context of understanding how to relate to each group of people to know what is funny.
Yeah, it doesn't have the ability to feel.
Yeah, although I find it interesting how if you tell AI to make something funny, they'll write something very stupid. If you ask them to write something very boring, it'll be funny. Like, you ask them, write a normal conversation between two ordinary people who are very normal, and they'll come up with this idea of normalcy that is hilarious to most humans. They'll be like, hello, how was your day? What are you up to this weekend? Oh, I'm just hanging around. You know the deal. I'm like, ha, that's exactly how humans act. This guy has our number.
Nice. Well, my friend, it is amazing having yet another episode with you. But unfortunately, I am out of time.
Okay, yeah, it's great talking. I feel like things are flowing and we're getting the hang of this. So we'll keep it up and look out for more episodes with your boy at H the Comedian, coming to you on Facebook and YouTube and wherever else we put it.
Y'all need to check this guy out.
I'll be doing it up soon with the evil
Nice.
sock.
Oh my god, the evil sock. My wife laughed so hard when I told her you were making that. She's like, what do you mean an evil sock? I was like, this sock is literally rolling around murdering people. How can that not be funny?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I'm trying to make 8 movies so that it's a complete series, because you know those like low budget movies with the puppet sock. There's so many of them, and they're always like 10 movies. So whatever success it has or doesn't have, I have to make 10 movies so that even if 5 people like it, they can get the full 10 movie experience.
Well, I promise you, we're watching the sock monster. I'm just saying, is it going to have googly eyes? Like those little googly.
Well, I got some eyes from, I bought a bag of buttons and it happened to have 2 eyes in it. So I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. I didn't
Little bit
even
of
plan
glue.
this.
That's
Yeah, that's what I did.
awesome. So, man, I hate to break it, but I am out of time. Everyone,
All
you
right.
need to follow H the Comedian on basically Facebook. He's got it all. And
I have two.
I'm Casual from Delusional Podcast. Peace out.
Peace.